Welcome to the News Hour. They are still fighting fires tonight on the Hawaiian island of Maui, in the nation's deadliest fire disaster in 5 years.
The news out of Maui and the death toll climbing to 111 overnight as we learn more about what may have sparked the first fire.
And more than 270 buildings damaged or destroyed across a blackened landscape.
The resort town of Lahaina is now shrouded in a blanket of thick smoke. The popular tourist spot on the western coast of Maui, steeped in native Hawaiian history dating back to the 1700s, was virtually unrecognizable today, even to locals.
An hour later, flames had made it all the way to Front Street, engulfing everything in its path. People leapt into the ocean to escape the flames.
This morning, as the death toll continues to grow on Maui, new video surfaces raising questions as to what may have sparked the deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history.
The fires started on August 8th in the early afternoon, and actually they started up in Kula, which is on the slopes of Haleakala, right across the valley from our house. So we could actually see the fires from our house. And we were watching them as they spread. They started in one kind of centralized area, and then we just watched the fires spread along the slopes of the mountain, and it's all community in there. It's all neighborhoods and a lot of residential areas. So we knew that it wasn't just going through brush. It was right in the middle of a community area. And we watched it until late, I would say, until we went to bed around 10 or 11. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, about 1 o'clock, and I thought, oh, I'll check on the fire. And I looked on my phone for any updates. And that's when I saw that we'd lost Lahaina. I knew earlier in the day there was a small brush fire in Lahaina, but I had no idea. I had no idea that we'd already lost Lahaina. There was no communication. There was none. There was none. And that was part of the issue and why so many people were lost. And I didn't find out until about 1 o'clock in the morning when video and reports came through of just balls of flame. There wasn't any communication because of the weather conditions that day, which were the main reason why we lost Lahaina and why the fires started in Kula. The winds were so strong. We had a hurricane spinning below Maui, and when the winds knocked down the electrical lines, which then sparked all these fires, it also knocked out a lot of our communication, and nobody had any way to find out. I mean, even the mayor didn't know until hours later that Lahaina was gone. Utility poles were down everywhere, and when the utility poles went down, that trapped everyone in Lahaina. There's one way in and out of Lahaina. And when those accesses were blocked by utility poles, and you think, oh, just move it out of the way. They're huge. And there's hundreds of them down. You know, there's probably 20,000 people in Lahaina and probably 30,000 tourists in Lahaina at any given time in all the hotels and the resorts. So when they woke up the next day and realized they were trapped, resources run out fast. There was no water, remember? There's no electricity. There was no cell phones. The only way to get hold of somebody was if someone was able to have like a shortwave radio. Like the fire department was able to talk to the fire department, the police department was able to talk to the police department, that was it. Before, Lahaina was really special. I mean, really special. It was a historic town, and it was also at one point the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii. And you would see just as many locals as you would tourists on any given evening. You know, maybe during the day when, you know, everybody's working, it's going to be all tourists. But at night, it's like 50% locals because we love Lahaina. It's great restaurants, great nightlife, fun shopping, but also everybody knows each other. You'll see someone you know there. The banyan tree is It's the second largest banyan tree in the world, and it was all lit up with lights, and there was always people playing music underneath it, and there's little, people selling trinkets underneath it, or somebody doing some sort of performance piece. It was a wonderful centerpiece to Lahaina. And we also have a lot of historic buildings in Lahaina, which is kind of rare, because remember that Hawaii, up until the Westerners came in, like, say, the 1830s and 40s, there were no permanent buildings whatsoever. And so the ones that we still have are really valuable and really beloved. And the history of Lahaina was really vibrant. It was different from anywhere else in Hawaii that I can think of, because usually when you're that surrounded by tourists, you don't want to spend any time there. You're going to go someplace where the locals go. Well, Lahaina was a place that everybody went. Lahaina was so colorful. The trees were all old and lush, lots of flowers, lots of vegetables, and lots of fruit, mango trees everywhere. Houses are pink and green and blue and yellow and very tropical. And it was quaint and cute. All the buildings were all old, really old. But those building materials, that old, dried out wood structures, that led to the incredibly fast destruction of Lahaina. And then when I drove through after the fire, it literally looked like bones sticking out of the ground, because the only thing that was left were like concrete footings and maybe some concrete pier blocks. And it just looked like one continuous graveyard. It was just so sad. It was almost, it didn't register. It felt not real, because there was no color whatsoever, just gray and black and white everywhere. There were telephone poles and utility poles down everywhere. There were cars everywhere, because people ended up abandoning their cars and running. There were burnt out cars, and we lost 2 fire trucks out there. So there was a burnt out fire truck that went down to nothing. There was no engine, no nothing. It's just 4 or 6 actually pools of where the tires were. People in Hawaii are usually very prepared for emergencies and are used to being cut off from the rest of the world. We're used to not having a quick response. And whatever happens out here, you got to handle it yourself. There's not anybody coming from another state to come give a hand. This was our first time that it was an island-wide emergency. And it made them rally together and work together. And they just naturally started making community hubs and locations where the community could go and get water if they needed it, get first aid, help if they needed it. There was a lot of pain out there. Maui Strong and Lahaina Strong happened really organically, because so many people have come to Maui as tourists and just fell in love. It's easy to fall in love. So people from all over the world just started pouring in donations and pouring in help. Volunteers showing up from all over the country, just showing up at the airport and like, what can we do? We're here. So Lahaina Strong and Maui Strong is kind of an umbrella of resources and hope and aloha that people from all over the world wanted to share with Maui when we were going through so much. And it really helped. There's still, every day you see cars with Lahaina Strong bumper stickers or t-shirts, or it's still raw, and the resources are still needed.